You're listening to the Quince podcast.
After interrogating former JNU student and United Against Hate member Umar Khalid for 11 hours on 13 September, the Delhi police arrested him under UAPA charges post-midnight for his alleged role in the Northeast Delhi riots of February 2020. This comes merely 2 weeks after Khalid had written a letter to the Delhi Police Commissioner S.N. Srivastava alleging that his acquaintances were being threatened with the same UAPA charges into writing statements implicating him in the violence. In several FIRs and charge sheets, Khalid has been projected as a quote-unquote key conspirator and mastermind of the riots, with the police claiming that the communal violence was a quote-unquote premeditated conspiracy allegedly hatched by Khalid and two others, although there's still no evidence linking him directly or indirectly to any violence so far. Even as the Delhi police have been severely criticized by civil society members, lawyers, activists, former IPS officers for conducting a biased probe and for leading a witch hunt against anti-CAA protesters, Khalid's arrest is one more name in the list of anti-CAA protesters like Natasha Narwal, Devangana Kalita, Safura Zargar, Gulfisha Fatima, and others who've been booked under the dreaded terror charges this year over allegations of playing a role in the Delhi riots. So what are the charges that have been leveled by the Delhi police against Khalid so far? What is the police's narrative about Khalid's role? And what's raising question against the Delhi police for conducting what many describe as a not-so-subtle unfair probe into the Delhi riots? In this podcast, I'll be shortly joined by a senior correspondent of The Quint, Aishwarya S. Iyer, who covers stories on communalism and has been closely following and reporting on the Delhi riots investigation. You're tuned in to The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline-making news for you. And I'm your host, Shawlbury. More than 100 charge sheets and 751 FIRs have been filed, and around 1,575 people have been arrested by the Delhi police in connection with the riots that happened in waves over 3 days between 23rd February to 26th February in Jafrabad, Mojpur, Gokulpuri, Chandbagh and Wazirabad areas of Northeast Delhi, which ended up killing 53 people. But coming to the most recent developments, Umar Khalid has been arrested under the UAPA, as we've said, and also booked for sedition, murder, attempt to murder, and several offences under the IPC. Khalid's father, SQR Ilyas, who's also the national president of the Welfare Party of India, accused the Delhi police of quote-unquote weaving a false story and using the same tactic as has been used to silence intellectuals and activists linked to the Bhima Koregaon case. Now, the Delhi Police Special Cell is yet to submit the charge sheet for FIR 59 that deals with the alleged conspiracy behind the Delhi riots of February 2020. They're likely to file one on 17 September. However, Khalid's name has come up on several FIRs and charge sheets as a conspirator. When in April 2020, the police had booked Jamia Millia Islamia students Miran Haider and Safura Zargar under the UAPA charges. They'd also booked Khalid under the act. In at least 4 charge sheets related to the riots, the police alleged that Khalid had met suspended and jailed Aam Aadmi Party councillor Tahir Hussain, who's also been booked under UAPA, and activist Khalid Saifi, also a member of the Citizens Collective United Against Hate, on January 8th at the Shaheen Bagh protest who allegedly planned the riots. And my colleague Aishwarya Iyer elaborates more on the several charges against him so far.
Yes, Shawlbury, let's look at the various allegations that have been made by the Delhi police against Umar Khalid. To clarify right in the beginning, Umar Khalid has been named as an accused under FIR 59, which is now known as the conspiracy FIR or the conspiracy charge sheet, alleged of course. He was named under this on the 7th of March. He was one of the first people who was named under FIR 59. UAPA was added as a charge to it much later. So if you look at, now of course we have to wait for the charge sheet under FIR 59 to come to be able to properly scrutinize what they have against him, considering he is named as an accused in this FIR. There have been several other charge sheets in the Delhi police probe. You know there are over 750 FIRs. So there have been several other charge sheets where Umar Khalid's name finds a repeated mention. For example, as you rightly pointed out, so FIR 65 and 101 amongst other FIRs is where the 8th January meeting has been spoken about. Now, that is one place where they say that he met Tahir Hussain, who's the AAP councillor, also in jail, and Khalid Saifi, who's also in jail. He met both of them, and this is where the riots were planned, to do a big blast, in the police's words, during when Trump visited. Other than that, there are also flowcharts where Umar Khalid's name is mentioned. For example, FIR 101, which is primarily about the former AAP councillor Tahir Hussain. There is a flowchart which, where his name is prominently mentioned right above Umar Khalid's name. And I'll tell you what the chart sheet reads in that area. It says a flowchart showing Tahir Hussain speaking and connecting with a host of other co-conspirators has been prepared and shown below. All these persons, along with Tahir, have hatched a well-planned and deep-rooted conspiracy to precipitate and cause widespread riots in northeast Delhi. Then, there is also a private meeting which was held in the end of January. This is not the 8th January meeting. This is a different meeting according to the supplementary charge sheet under FIR 50, which investigates the violence at Jafrabad, which can be seen as the epicenter of violence because that's where it started. So here in this private meeting, there's a public witness Y who was told the police under section 161 and 164 of the CRPC, which means to the police and in front of the magistrate, that in the last week of January 2020, Umar Khalid had participated in a private meeting close to Selampur. This is where Umar Khalid had told them that only speeches were not sufficient, that the government was anti-Muslim. He went ahead and said the following lines. खून बहाना पड़ेगा, ऐसे नहीं चलेगा, चक्का जाम ही आखिरी रास्ता है, हमें सरकार को घुटनों के बल लाना ही होगा, संघियों की सरकार ऐसे नहीं मानेगी, which means in English that we have to shed our blood. There's no other way out of this. The roadblock is our last resort. We have to bring the government down to its knees. Otherwise, this government of right-wingers will not listen to us. And other than that, under the same FIR 50 supplementary charge sheet, there is also an allegation regarding funds that were arranged by Umar Khalid. So I'll tell you exactly what it says in the charge sheet. This is in the form of a disclosure statement. To clarify, disclosure statements do not have evidentiary value, but we will talk about that later again. So coming back to the disclosure statement written by Gulfisha Fatima, it reads that Umar Khalid used to help to organize protests financially as well. He used to say that we should not worry about money and that he will get us money from PFI, which is the Popular Front of India.
Now, the first allegations against Khalid in fact surfaced on social media when BJP members started sharing a clip of his speech delivered by him in February. In a tweet that has more than 7,000 retweets, BJP IT cell head Amit Malviya had written, and I'm quoting his tweet, Umar Khalid, already facing sedition charges, gave a speech in Amravati on 17 February where he exhorted a large Muslim audience to come out on streets in huge numbers when Trump arrives in India on 24th February. Was the violence in Delhi planned weeks in advance by the Tukre Tukre gang? End quote. Now, that allegation was not only backed by Home Minister Amit Shah in the parliament, but two charge sheets submitted by the Delhi police related to the Chandbagh area violence also claimed that a conspiracy was being plotted to carry out a quote-unquote big blast during US President Donald Trump's visit in February. And in these allegations of a conspiracy, Khalid emerged as a key target. In response to criticisms over its investigations, even as the Delhi police recently said that it has, quote, meticulously carried out investigation in the most professional manner, unquote, are there reasons yet to question the police investigation? And before Aishwarya takes over, I'll quote a few more lines from the police's statement. They said, quote, it is alleged that anti-CAA protesters, including social activists, academicians, and students, are being framed in false cases. Some are taking out few lines of charge sheets filed in the courts out of context in order to create a controversy and doubt about the investigation. Their assertion is not true and instead motivated. It is worth mentioning that it's for the police to conduct investigation and submit its report to the court to take cognizance in the matter for trial. End quote. But what is the basis of the police's allegations of a conspiracy? Are there gaps in the narratives? Have there been other questionable aspects in this investigation as Khalid's letter alleges? And back to Aishwarya here.
Regarding questionable aspects to the investigation, Shorbari, there have been several red flags for a couple of months now. Various activists, intellectuals, and former bureaucrats have written to even the president, Ramnath Kovind, regarding the biased way in which the investigation has progressed. They've gone ahead and said that, in open letters of solidarity, that it appears at least, that the Delhi police investigation is motivated and biased. Other than that, there's also an ex-IPS officer, Julio Ribeiro, who has written a letter to Delhi Police Commissioner. He's written an email actually to the Commissioner in Delhi to ensure a fair probe into the Delhi riots. This email was written recently, and he goes ahead and says that the riot probe is targeting patriots. So there have been red flags since the very beginning. But if we come back, to the various allegations against Umar Khalid, let's take them one by one, and I'll tell you, why there are loopholes in the narrative that the police is building. For example, the 8th January meeting. Now, this is a story that we broke, of course, a couple of months ago now, where it was the charge sheet says that on 8th of January, Tahir Hussain, Khalid Saifi, and Umar Khalid had met, and they had decided to have a big blast for when Trump visits India in the month of February 2020. The riots were planned to be happened, I'm reading the charge sheet, during or prior to the visit of US President Donald Trump. That's what the charge sheet reads. However, the investigation that was done by us shows that, nobody knew when Trump was going to come to India on 8th of January. We checked PIB releases, which is government releases. We checked Ministry of External Affairs releases. We checked news reports, and the earliest report is also on 13th of January. So, how do you explain that these three men knew when Trump was coming to India when nobody else literally did? So that is definitely a loophole or a question worth asking in the course of the trial. Other than that, we have these various flowcharts that have been linking Tahir Hussain to Umar Khalid. And again, these are allegations of planning the riots, of masterminding the riots that have been vehemently denied by Umar Khalid's lawyer Trideep Pais again and again. Now let's come to the private meet that happened in the end of January. So we spoke to Umar Khalid's lawyer, because this is a statement that was not only recorded under 161, which is to the police, but also to the magistrate. So we had to go ahead and we felt the need to speak to Umar's lawyer. Umar's lawyer told us after reading the charge sheet, he said that this reference to an allegation against Umar Khalid is completely false, fabricated and procured illegally through duress. Now, of course, this is something that they'll only be able to prove in the course of the trial, which we'll all have to wait for. And of course, after that, there is the allegation regarding him arranging funds from the PFI, the Popular Front of India, which is a controversial body. It is called anti-national by a lot of people. So this PFI allegation comes from a disclosure statement made by Gulfisha Fatima. Again, disclosure statements are statements that do not have evidentiary value. For example, Section 25 of the Evidence Act, which clearly states that such statements cannot be taken to prove anything in a course of the trial, until and unless the exception is that it leads to recovery of evidence. Now, is that happening? We don't know. And recovery of evidence means like the word murder weapon or something. So these allegations are something that they'll have to prove in court. So only if they prove it in court will they stand a chance in the course of the trial. And I must add here, you spoke about the letter that was written by Umar Khalid to the Delhi Police Commissioner a few weeks ago, where he says that so-and-so was forced, was coerced, was pressurized, was threatened, to go ahead and write a statement against Umar Khalid. And he had to do that because, if he didn't do it, the police had literally threatened to book him under UAPA. But another interesting aspect of this letter, of course, it had Umar Khalid's name, but it also had other WhatsApp groups' names, which will implicate various other activists. For example, there is the Hum Bharat Ke Log and the Delhi Protest Support Group, DPSG, which is again something that we have reported about. These two WhatsApp groups, have as their members various noted intellectuals and activists, including Rahul Roy, Yogendra Yadav, Apurva Nand, Harsh Mandar, lots and lots of people. So it's not only Umar Khalid who that statement implicated. It also, by extension, by naming Hum Bharat Ke Log and by naming the Delhi Protest Support Group, it's implicating them as well. So this is a major cause of concern.
And speaking of questionable aspects of the investigation, Umar Khalid's arrest also comes at a time when the Delhi riots investigation has triggered a political row over CPIM leader Sitaram Yechuri and Swaraj Abhiyan chief Yogendra Yadav being named in a disclosure statement of an accused in the Delhi riots. Just a day before Khalid's arrest, along with Yechuri and Yadav, the police named economist and academician Jayati Ghosh, Delhi University professor Apurvanand, and filmmaker Rahul Roy in his supplementary charge sheet in one other rights-related case for having quote-unquote encouraged anti-CAA protesters, and this relying primarily on disclosure statements made by 3 students, Natasha Narwal, Devangana Kalita, and Gulfisha Fatima, who've all been in custody for more than 3 months. And here too, these developments are raising eyebrows because, well, for one, Devangana Kalita and Natasha Narwal have identical disclosure statements. And two, as legal experts say, even though the police claim that the 3 accused have confessed to their involvement in the alleged crimes, statements made to the police in custody are inadmissible by law. Only statements made before a magistrate are admissible, with the exception of those statements that lead to recovery of evidence. Now, even as the Delhi police carries on with its investigation, it's been continuously alleged of implicating anti-CAA and anti-NRC protesters in a number of fictitious cases, subjecting peaceful protesters to a malicious investigation, and turning a blind eye to obvious cases of hate speeches delivered by BJP leaders ahead of the riots. But what is raising so many doubts about this investigation?
And this is where I'd also like to say that the Quint has been at the forefront where it's come to covering the Delhi riots and the probe as well. Right from when the riots broke out in February, the Quint, which is various colleagues of mine as well as I, we were on the ground, on ground zero, reporting the violence unfolding in front of our eyes. I've seen the first vehicle being set on fire between Jafrabad and Mojpur on the 24th of February. And, even after the riots, now, if you see months after the riots, it was the Quint which went ahead and started reporting on the various complaints and allegations against BJP leaders regarding their role in inciting violence. Now, these are complaints which are yet to convert to FIRs. This was a trend that we started, that various other organizations followed up on weeks later. Again, there are various sides to the Delhi riots that we first broke or we have covered comprehensively. You can look at the anti-Dalit side to the riots. It's a very comprehensive story that we've done, which you will find that at the Delhi violence probe. If you type Delhi violence probe, the Quint, you'll find a topic page where all our stories are. So you'll find this anti-Dalit side of the Delhi riots over there. You'll also whether it's about the RSS members being arrested. We were the ones who broke the story that they were arrested for murder and rioting during the riots, or the fact that Sharjeel Imam was arrested. Now, Sharjeel was in jail for a month before the riots. So what is the reason that he was arrested? So what we've done is we've very comprehensively reported on the riots from various different angles. We've also ensured that every time we put a report out, we give adequate time to everybody to respond to the various allegations. We've also analyzed charge sheets and found loopholes in the way the police investigation is progressing. So yeah, if you guys really want to read about the Delhi riots, then I'd suggest you go to our topic page, you go to our website, and you find our stories.
If you like listening to this episode, please subscribe to the Big Story playlist for episodic updates. We're live on Apple, Google Podcast, Spotify, JioSaavn, and most of the other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website and check out the podcast section. For any feedback, shoot an email to podcast@thequint.com.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts.